So in this video, we're going to show how you can take a data set that was given in the text and how we can create a histogram using that data. All right. So the first step is that we need to determine the total number of data points. So in Excel, this is really easy. You can use a function called the count function. All right. So you just have to type in count, and then you just select the data that you want to use. Alright, so in this case, we're going to use the column B data. Alright, we're going to select all the data, hit enter. Alright, and we have 20 data points. Okay, awesome. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to determine the appropriate number of bins to use in your data set for your histogram. So in order to do that, we're just going to follow the formula in your textbook, which is just 1.87 times the number of bins. So in our case, our number of bins is 20. We're going to subtract 1 from that total. All right, so n minus 1. We're going to take the n minus 1 and we're going to put it to the power of 0.4. Then we're going to add 1. Okay. All right. So, so that gives us an appropriate number of bins for a moderate sized data set. If this data set was very, very large, you would want to use probably around the square root of that number. So square root of 20 is like in between 4 and 5, so that's not many bins. If you have a really small data set, you should always use at least 5 bins in your histogram. Otherwise, it's just two things. It doesn't really show you much of a shape at all. All right, so we can then round our number a little bit down by using the round function, and now we're ready to make our histogram. Okay, so what we can do is we can go to Insert, and then in the charts there's a histogram. Okay, so before we hit the value, we're going to select our values here. We're going to go in, select our histogram. Okay. All right. So now we have our histogram. All right. Now our histogram will not have in it. It will not have the correct number of bins that we selected. So in order to determine the number of bins, we click on the bottom. All right. And then we can click on the number of bins. Okay. So click on number of bins, and we're going to select 7. Alright, now we have a nice histogram here. Right, that kind of shows everything here. Now, the one thing I'll point out about this histogram is it'll kind of give you some sort of like oddball numbers on for your histogram on the bottom. So what you can kind of do to adjust those is you can define what's called the overflow and underflow bins. Okay, so right now it has them at both at being 1, which is kind of ridiculous. So we can change them to a little bit more realistic numbers. All right, so I'm going to change it to be about 0.75, and then we're going to go to 1.25 for the underflow. Oh, I'm sorry, reverse these. So it should be 0.75 for the underflow and 1.25 for the overflow. And now we got a data set that looks pretty decent. All right, and you can see is that by selecting some nice even numbers here, so in our case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bins. The difference between the lowest bin margin and the upper bin margin of our middle 5 bins was 0.5. So now it made a nice even numbers in between, and we got a nice looking histogram here. Okay, so this is our completed histogram for our data set for example 5.1. Alright, so this is something that just takes a little bit of practice. This Excel sheet will be available for you. There's some extra resources here if you want to use that formula. It's just included right here for you to use. This resource for you to use. Feel free and try this example yourself.